If you want to grow resilient plants while rebuilding your soil, subscribe to Botanical Bliss now. Today's guide uncovers a forgotten root vegetable that not only produces exceptional yields, but also naturally enhances soil fertility. For centuries, farmers relied on this humble crop to revitalize tired soil. Yet modern agriculture has largely replaced it with hybrids that honestly prioritize short-term production over ecosystem health. By revisiting this lost vegetable, gardeners and survivalists can tap into a sustainable strategy that grows food while, feeding the land. Why modern hybrids fail to improve soil. Most contemporary root crops are bred for uniformity, size, and rapid harvest. While effective for market production, these varieties often neglect soil health. High-density planting, selective breeding, and reliance on synthetic fertilizers reduce the natural interactions between roots and soil organisms. Well, microbial diversity declines, soil structure degrades, and nutrient cycling slows down. As a result, even with repeated planting using modern hybrids, the soil can become compacted, biologically impoverished, and, much more prone to erosion. In contrast, traditional root vegetables actually evolved alongside soil ecosystems. Their deep, fibrous roots and high biomass production interact with soil biology to, naturally improve fertility. They break up compacted layers, deposit organic matter through their decaying roots, and feed the microbial communities that sustain long-term productivity. This principle is really central to the lost vegetable I tested in my garden. The lost root vegetable that outperforms hybrids. After researching historical texts and agricultural records, I discovered a root crop that was once common across Europe and North America, but is now, quite rare. The salsify, sometimes called the oyster plant. Its long, vigorous roots penetrate deep into compacted soils, scavenging nutrients inaccessible to shallow-rooted crops. Above ground, leafy biomass grows quickly, providing shade and mulch when cut. Compared to modern carrots or parsnips, salsify consistently produces larger roots with minimal inputs while improving soil structure. Now, here's how salsify actively feeds your soil. The secret, really, lies in its root system and the leaf litter it produces. Those deep roots, you see, transport minerals from the subsoil right up to the surface, depositing them through natural decay, or sometimes when you prune the plant. This whole process, it enriches the topsoil with calcium, potassium, and those trace elements that are so often missing in depleted gardens. The leaves, when they're trimmed and left as mulch, decompose slowly, feeding the soil microbes and helping to maintain moisture levels, which is just brilliant for the garden. In combination, the root and shoot biomass create a sort of living fertilizer that works more subtly but honestly, more effectively than compost or synthetic amendments alone. Right, so let's talk about some practical steps to grow this rather forgotten vegetable effectively. Salsify really does best in deep, loose soil, and it needs full sun, You'll want to plant the seeds either in early spring or late summer, making sure they're spaced out enough for the roots to grow without any obstruction. It's important to thin the seedlings carefully, just so you don't disturb the surrounding soil too much. Once your salsify is established, you can trim the leaves from time to time and just leave them on the bed as a sort of organic mulch. The roots themselves can be harvested in late autumn or early spring, and any roots left in the soil will keep contributing to nutrient cycling and microbial activity, which is brilliant. Oh, and for those with container gardens, salsify can thrive there too, as long as you provide deep pots or grow tubes. Even in smaller spaces, salsify tends to outgrow many modern hybrids, producing these long, tender roots while also feeding the contained soil. By alternating between harvesting roots and pruning leaves, gardeners can actually maintain continuous soil improvement alongside food production, which is really quite remarkable. So, why does this root vegetable salsify outgrow modern hybrids? Well, unlike hybrids that are bred for uniformity, salsify is, genetically diverse and really well adapted to variable conditions. It tolerates poorer soils, irregular moisture, and even cooler temperatures. Its growth tends to be steady and resilient, producing roots that are often longer and more nutrient-dense than their hybrid counterparts. In my own garden trials, salsify roots regularly exceeded 30 centimetres with lush leaves that can support a whole micro-ecosystem of soil organisms. Honestly, this combination of productivity and ecological benefit is just unmatched by standard hybrids. Now, let's talk about how integrating salsify into your garden can change long-term soil management. By planting this root vegetable annually or in rotation, the soil gradually improves. Compacted areas begin to loosen, microbial populations expand, and nutrient availability increases over time. As time goes on, the need for external fertilizers really starts to diminish, and the soil itself becomes capable of supporting a much wider variety of crops with, a lot less effort. For survivalists or those practicing permaculture, salsify actually offers both immediate food and a long-term investment in the soil. It's an approach that honestly lines up with the old traditions of sustainable land stewardship. There's a lesson to be learned from reviving lost crops. Modern gardening, more often than not, focuses a bit too narrowly on yield and looks, sometimes overlooking the ecological impact. By going back to ancient crops like salsify, we can, rediscover strategies that naturally restore fertility while still producing plenty of food. It reminds us that soil health and crop productivity are not separate goals. They're really intertwined. A root that feeds both the gardener and the garden is, a tool our ancestors understood intuitively, but it's something that modern agriculture has largely forgotten. If this guide has changed how you view root crops and soil management, don't forget to subscribe to Botanical Bliss and, share this with anyone who's seeking sustainable ways to grow food while rebuilding soil. Lost crops like salsify offer lessons that are honestly still relevant today, providing both nourishment and the foundation for thriving gardens for years to come.